Speaking Task 1. You will be asked a question about a familiar topic. You will then have 15 seconds to prepare your response, and 45 seconds to speak.
Do you prefer starting your day early or waking up late? Justify why using specific reasons.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
I prefer starting my day early. An early start gives me a quiet period before the hustle of the day begins, which I can use for focused work, exercise, or thought. Moreover, it aligns my productive hours with the workday of most businesses, which can facilitate communication and coordination with them. Lastly, I find that an early start gives me a sense of accomplishment and momentum entering the day, building a positive mindset that carries through into my later activities.
Speaking Task 2. You will read a short paragraph and then listen to a conversation between two people. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the conversation between two people.
Did you read that letter in the paper?
Sure. And though she's right about the problems, I don't think what she proposes will do much good.
Really?
Yeah. Take her first suggestion. I mean, have you seen the health center?
Of course. Why?
Well, it's tiny, right? The center suffers from lack of space. So, unless they build more treatment rooms or offices or something.
Oh, I see.
And also, her second suggestion?
Seems like that'll help things out.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, think about it. A lot of students aren't even here on the weekends.
That's true.
They leave town and get away. There's not a lot of people here.
Yeah, like me. I go home probably at least twice a month.
Right. And a lot of us leave campus for the weekend even more often than that. So there's just not a lot of demand for treatment then. See what I mean?
The man expresses his opinion about the student's suggestions that are made in the letter. State the man's opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The man does not agree with the suggestions made in the letter. He thinks that hiring more doctors will not solve the problem because the health center does not have enough space to accommodate them. He mentions that the center suffers from a lack of space, and unless they build more treatment rooms or offices, hiring more doctors will not make much of a difference. Additionally, he disagrees with the suggestion of opening the health center on weekends because many students are not on campus during those times. He points out that a lot of students leave town and go home on weekends, so there is not a high demand for treatment during those days. The man believes that the suggestions made in the letter will not effectively address the problems at the health center.
Speaking Task 3. You will read a short paragraph about an academic topic, then listen to a lecture about it. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the lecture.
Let's take Australia as an example. Traditionally, in Australia, it was common to find nuclear families, typically a mother, a father, and children. However, over the decades, trends show a significant shift in the composition and size of the Australian family. The changes in the laws with regards to same-sex marriage, disposable income, women's liberation movement, technology in terms of the ease of divorce and contraception, and migration led to diversity in family structures. Australia witnessed more single-parent families, childless couples, blended families, and same-sex families. Social issues such as domestic violence, mental health, and divorce rates began to shape the very structure of the family unit. These changes mirror the larger societal transformations in attitudes towards marriage, childbearing, and gender roles in the society. As societies continue to evolve, the structure of the family will adjust accordingly, reflecting the complexities and the diversity of the society at large.
How does the professor's example of recent family developments in Australia illustrate the concept of societal changes influencing family structures?
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The professor explains how the family structure in Australia has changed over time due to various societal factors like changes in laws regarding same-sex marriage, women's liberation movement, and technology. These changes have led to diverse family structures such as single-parent families, childless couples, blended families, and same-sex families. This shows that as society evolves, the family unit also adapts to reflect the transformations in attitudes towards marriage, childbearing, and gender roles. The example of Australia demonstrates how societal changes like legal reforms, economic factors, and cultural shifts influence the composition and dynamics of the family, highlighting the interconnection between society and family structures.
You will listen to a lecture about an academic topic. After, you will get a question about what you heard. You will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. Now listen to the lecture.
Marine plankton are some of the most important, some would argue even the most important, microorganisms that live in the ocean. It is not well known that the plankton have a lot of diversity. They don't just live in oceans, but they can also be found in rivers and in lakes. They can also be divided into two main groups, phytoplankton and zooplankton. Today we will be focusing on the former since they are more interesting to us. They perform functions without which life as we know it would not be the same. Phytoplankton are photosynthetic and they are responsible for the production of the majority of the oxygen in the oceans. If we could snap our fingers and remove them from the world, we would have a disastrous effect. It will do to the marine life what the asteroid did to the dinosaurs. The other important function that they perform is that they are the base of the food chain. Here, the previously mentioned zooplankton come into focus again. The zooplankton feed on the phytoplankton, and then the zooplankton are eaten by other small animals, the same small animals which are on the menu of bigger ones. So, not only would marine life suffocate without these little organisms, but they would also starve without them. This is why we really need to be careful with how we conduct ourselves. Human activity has placed a lot of strain on nature, and these microorganisms are feeling the pressure. Our waste and energy consumption has contributed to the disruption of the ecosystem in which phytoplankton live, and if we are not careful, there might be some dire consequences.
What are the vital roles of phytoplankton? Include points and examples from the lecture.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The lecture discusses the vital roles of phytoplankton in the ocean ecosystem. First, phytoplankton are responsible for producing the majority of the oxygen in the oceans through photosynthesis. Without them, marine life would suffocate. Second, they serve as the base of the food chain, being consumed by zooplankton, which are then eaten by larger animals. This shows how important phytoplankton are in sustaining marine life. For example, if phytoplankton were to disappear, it would have a disastrous effect similar to what happened to the dinosaurs when the asteroid hit. In conclusion, phytoplankton play a critical role in maintaining the balance of the ocean ecosystem, and it is important for us to be mindful of our impact on their habitat to prevent any negative consequences.